your plane is a valuable tool. With the Genesis Aerosystems STEC 3100 digital autopilot, you can rest assured you will arrive safely to your destination. The 3100 is the industry's most advanced autopilot for single and twin-engine aircraft, providing exceptional workload reduction, safety-enhancing capabilities such as straight and level mode and speed protection. To learn more, visit our website today.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Alyssa Cobb.
Welcome to our third week of being homebound, but we're still trying to commit aviation any way we can, even if that means we're just talking about it.
Now, some 80% of you are under stay-at-home orders, as we are, so please bear with us as we work through the challenges of putting together a show without our usual minimum equipment. So, Alyssa, how's things going at your house?
Well, it's pretty busy being stuck at home with an 8-month-old, but we are managing, and our e-media team is working day and night cranking out news about the coronavirus and impact on general aviation and what general aviation pilots are doing to help. Yeah, you guys are hitting it out of the park for sure. Lots and lots of content on our website. And now here's some good news from the FAA. Last week we told you we were asking for it, and this week the agency delivered. The agency won't take enforcement action against pilots flying with an expired medical. The policy is a response to the coronavirus pandemic, of course, and the realization that it's difficult for pilots to get into a medical examiner's office. It increases the risk of virus exposure, and many doctors are no longer seeing patients for routine examinations. But hey, there are caveats, so listen up. This non-enforcement policy applies only to required crew members and extends to just June 30. And it says nothing about what your insurance company will or will not do. An expired medical might, and I'll say that again, might invalidate your insurance coverage, but things vary from company to company, so check with your insurance underwriter to be sure. Well, not only did the FAA deliver, but some GA pilots are delivering as well. So I'm sure you've heard about the personal protective equipment shortage. During the coronavirus pandemic, demand has skyrocketed for essential supplies like face masks and gloves. These are essential for keeping healthcare workers healthy to care for patients. Well, a Michigan pilot had an idea for how he could help with this problem using his connections in the automotive manufacturing industry. Now, AOPA Live's Josh Cochran has the story.
With spring coming in Michigan, normally the flight instructors at Michigan Seaplane, a seaplane flight school, would be splashing around the lakes near Detroit. But with the coronavirus pandemic, they're taking on a new mission.
I'm tied into the automobile industry, and we were just watching on the news a week ago yesterday, Sunday, how the medical operators, the frontline people, the nurses, the doctors were running out of these, protective plastic shields. Talked to one of my engineers at my company in Indiana, Muir6 Corporation. He said, give me a couple hours, let me see what I can come up with. We had a prototype made up. We shot that off to local hospitals here in Michigan. Sunday afternoon, they said how many and how fast.
The question of how fast, that's where the GA airplanes come in. After the first batch of face shields were ready, volunteer pilots Nick Hall and Mike Mato jumped in a borrowed Cessna 206 to deliver them.
Nick and I were able to fly down to Muncie, Indiana, and load up 20 boxes, so 6,000 masks, and flying back up here to the Metro Detroit area, and we were able to distribute them to hospitals. I think the drive from here to Muncie is 4 or 5 hours, so I think it's about an hour flight down and an hour flight back, so a matter of 2 hours compared to almost a whole day. Trying to get those masks to the hospitals as soon as possible.
We're helping these people that are trying to save basically our lives. And they are walking into literal fire when they go, deal with a corona patient. And if this little shield can help protect them, that's what it's all about.
We have a set of skills, and when we are able to use them to help out, it's definitely a good feeling.
And since the first delivery flight, other pilots from around the area are stepping up to help.
The outpouring of pilots with their planes has been just phenomenal. They're saying, when can we go? How can we help? Where do you need these things flown to? And it's been fantastic. It really has. We will get through this. We are all in this together. We will come out stronger for it.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
The volunteer pilots are hoping to make another delivery later this week using several aircraft. Now, Tom, we've been following this story on the e-media side as well, and it's amazing how, what starts with an idea, but from one person gets support from the automotive manufacturing industry, from other general aviation pilots, and really is making a difference.
Yeah, it really is. And no surprise, the general aviation community always steps up when there's a need, using our airplanes to do the unique things that you can do with a general aviation airplane, going places that maybe big airplanes can't, and being quick in getting things delivered. And it's not just pilots who are stepping up. Companies are doing that as well. Piper Aircraft pitching in to produce personal protective equipment. They've shifted production to make plastic face shields for a hospital on the front line. Piper employees came up with the idea and the design that could be fabricated with the equipment they already have. The hospital liked the Piper face shields better than their regular ones. More than 50,000 have been ordered for the hospital system. But hey, Piper has no plans to be in the medical supply business long term. They're going to continue building airplanes, but they were happy that they could help their community in this time of need. And Boeing is also using its additive manufacturing equipment to 3D print face shields, and it's offered the use of the Boeing Dreamlifter fleet to transport critical medical supplies. There are 4 Dreamlifters adapted from the iconic 747.
Well, more heavy lifters are getting medical supplies where they need to be. This Air Force C-17 flew 500,000 testing swabs and supplies from Italy to Memphis, Tennessee to be distributed across the U.S. FEMA is contracting with cargo carriers to deliver supplies. And earlier this week, an Atlas Air 747 delivered 80 tons of supplies to JFK in New York, and that's just the first of many scheduled flights. But some scheduled and non-scheduled flights have been delayed or canceled because air traffic controllers are catching the coronavirus. In just the last few days, people at more than 6 ATC facilities have tested positive for the virus. So far, at least 16 facilities have been affected like that. When it happens, they usually have to close the tower or the radar room so it can be disinfected. This week, the AOPA Air Safety Institute issued a safety notice about ATC Zero events and what pilots should do. One of those tips is to check NOTAMs before and during flight. Pilots who need to fly IFR should check the FAA's current reroutes page and advisories. And if you are flying and talking to ATC, well, take a minute to thank them for their continued service during these uncertain times.
Yeah, absolutely. A great thing to do. Now, when some of those controllers have to be pulled from duty or a facility closes, the system can't handle as much traffic as usual. But hey, traffic is way down anyhow, perhaps as much as 50% or more by some counts. So we wondered, what's it like right now for the pilots who always fly in the system, the airline pilots? I chatted with good friend Adrian Eichhorn, who captains an Airbus for JetBlue.
And what's it like out there in the airspace today? What are your flights been like lately?
Well, Tom, it's pretty scary, actually. And it's hard to believe that 6 months ago, all of the airlines were hiring pilots. We couldn't get enough guys to fill the seats, to fill the cockpit.
Right.
And now I got an email from my company this morning saying offering early retirement because I've got less than a year to go till mandatory retirement at 65. So it's just beyond comprehension or beyond belief of how quickly things have changed because the flights are basically empty. I think I had a 4-day trip and I didn't have more than 20 people on any one of the legs. One flight I flew, we had one person on board.
It's great catching up with Adrian, and that chat was from our new series called Pilot Lounge, where we talk to pilots of all stripes who have interesting stories to tell. You can find Pilot Lounge on our YouTube channel. We add new conversations multiple times per week, so check back often. So, Alyssa, we've been churning out conversations with these pilots several times a week, and really fascinating things out there, and some good tips on how to manage your cockpit, and some fascinating stories, some really interesting folks. I talked to Richard McSpadden last week about his experience as Thunderbird lead, and there's numerous other ones out there too.
Yeah, it's definitely on my tune-in list when I need an aviation fix. They're great pieces. Now here's an impact of the pandemic you may not have thought of: weather forecasting. So how's that? Well, forecasters need real-time data to know what the weather is actually doing so they can refine their models and forecasts. Now, one source of data is in-flight observations from airliners and cargo aircraft sent to the ground via the Aircraft Meteorological Data Relay Program. But according to a story in Aviation Daily, worldwide air traffic is down more than 40% and expected to drop more. You can see how many fewer flights there are now in this graphic from Flight Radar 24. European forecasters say the aircraft data is second only to satellite info in the importance of their forecast. Now here's one forecast that's not going to change no matter what. One of you is going to win our Sweepstakes RV-10.
For sure, Alyssa. And this amazing airplane, it's got a beautiful paint job, new interior, latest and greatest avionics. But how does this experimental aircraft compare and stack up against the best-selling certificated airplane? AOPA Editor-at-Large Dave Hirschman asked that question, so he takes the RV-10 and pits it against the Cirrus SR22 in a head-to-head performance contest.
These two aircraft dominate their categories. The Cirrus SR22 has been the world's top-selling FAA-certified single-engine airplane for 16 years, and its lead is growing. The RV-10 is far and away the world's most popular four-seat kit airplane, and they embody designer Richard Van Grunsman's total performance philosophy. So how do these airplanes stack up in a head-to-head performance contest? Let's see. First, we'll compare takeoff distance. The pilots line up side by side on the runway, hold the brakes, push the power up, and then race to get airborne. Both airplanes are carrying 2 people and 60 gallons of avgas. The RV-10 is about 700 pounds lighter, and the Cirrus is more powerful with a 310 horsepower engine that gives it a 50 horsepower boost. The RV-10 surges ahead and gets off the ground in about 600 feet in 12 seconds. That's a little more than half the distance of the Cirrus, which uses 1,100 feet in 16 seconds. Advantage, RV-10. The next event is a max effort climb. The contestants start together at 2,000 feet and race to 6,000. The lighter RV-10 has a slightly steeper climb angle and reaches the target altitude about 2 seconds before the Cirrus. But the Cirrus has a faster forward speed and pulls ahead in terms of distance. The result? A draw. Now for a flat-out drag race. The Cirrus and RV-10 move into position 1 mile behind the photo airplane at 9,500 feet and push the throttles wide open.
Okay, ready to push it up. On the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, push.
The contestants stay right together as they overtake the photo bird. Then they do it again, this time from 2 miles back. Once again, there's virtually no difference in top speed. The result, another draw. Next, it's time to see which airplane can fly slower. The 2 airplanes decelerate together with the flaps up, and the Cirrus buffets and stalls while the RV-10 keeps flying.
And the brake at 69 knots.
Then they do it again with the flaps down this time, and the result is the same. The Cirrus stalls first. Advantage, RV-10. The final contest is a short field landing. The quartering headwind is gusting to 18 knots, so both pilots increase their approach speeds to account for the wind. The RV-10 touches down at 59 knots and rolls out in about 500 feet with moderate braking. The Cirrus touches down at 62 knots and rolls out in about 800 feet. Advantage, RV-10. Okay, so just back from the fly-off, and it was fascinating to me to see how closely matched these two are, even though they're not in the exact same peer group. You know, as far as certified and experimental, you know, they're really close in terms of performance.
Yeah, surprising.
A lot of fun too. It was
yeah,
really,
and just a blast.
Yeah, it was a good day to fly.
Yeah.
One aspect we didn't test is survivability in the case of an engine failure, and here the Cirrus airframe parachute sets it apart. Ballistic Recovery Systems, which makes whole airframe parachutes for the Cirrus and many other GA airplanes, has begun offering one for the RV-10. The importance you place on the parachute system itself will likely decide which of these market-leading airplanes you prefer. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
So listen, I was surprised. I thought that the Cirrus would win more of those categories than it did, given its bigger engine and that sort of thing. But the RV-10 is quite the competitor in a lot of ways.
It is. I mean, it's knocking off airplanes one by one. It's gone up against the 182 and now the Cirrus SR22. It's proving itself.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's eye-opening for those of us who have mostly been focused on production airplanes throughout most of our piloting career, so to speak, to look at what's happening in the experimental amateur built market, where the RV-10 comes from, and the great capabilities there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Welcome back. Yet another airport has taken a direct hit in the southeast from a tornado. An EF-3 Twister hit Jonesboro, Arkansas on March 28th. No fatalities, fortunately, but 22 folks reported injured. The 140-mile-per-hour winds destroyed a hangar and multiple aircraft. Another force of nature has canceled Sun and Fun this year. The Florida show organizers had hoped to reschedule the April event for early May, but the coronavirus pandemic is turning out to be a lot more disruptive than we first thought it might be. But Sun and Fun is fighting back.
This worldwide fight demands everybody's involvement. So we here at Sun and Fun, the Aerospace Center for Excellence, have voted unanimously with the board, the entire staff, and our volunteers to join that fight and to realign all of our resources in engaging and helping the community stop the spread of this most vile enemy. To do that, we are going to make our facility available to both FEMA, the National Guard, emergency response teams, and be used as necessary to help combat this horrific plague, if you will.
Sun and Fun is going to create online sessions to encourage and educate the next generation of aerospace professionals.
And plenty of other folks are offering virtual air shows and webinars. Garmin has webinars on its newest products and savings on that new stuff as well. Sporties is packaging show season deals with a virtual air show segment featuring Patty Wagstaff. And Redbird is launching an online series of the Redbird STEM Plus Lab. The STEM Plus Lab will feature interactive classes for students in middle school and high school. So note that for your children at home who are looking for online things to do. Well, how about a virtual drawing to get B-25 lessons? The Delaware Aviation Museum Foundation gave away a second-in-command type rating in the B-25 Panchito. Owner Larry Kelly just drew the winner's name.
Homer T. Womack, you're our third place winner for second command rating here at Georgetown, Delaware, at the Delaware Aviation Museum. You will be fine getting your rating in Panchito.
Well, congratulations, Homer. Even if you didn't win, you can still pay for flight training in Panchito. Find out more at the Delaware Aviation Museum website.
Yeah, way to go, Homer. I have been through that experience. It's a great one. You'll enjoy it for sure and learn a lot about that unbelievable airplane, the B-25. Hey, there's a new EFB on the block, and it's got some gee-whiz features as well. Stratus Insight is a new product from Aperio. The ADS-B hardware maker is bringing artificial intelligence into the cockpit. It's got maps and charts like you'd expect in an EFB, but also will transcribe ATC radio communications and will play it back for you. It works similar to visual voicemail with the ATC comms displayed right on the app. The idea is that you could receive the information without having to write it down. Stratus Insight is available only on iOS devices, and you can find it in the Apple Store.
So how are you holding up? Many of us are dealing with this situation we've never encountered before. I know I am. And that, along with not being able to do the things that normally make us happy, like flying, can be quite stressful. Well, AOPA Live's Paul Harrop caught up with a pilot who is a psychotherapist. She's got some helpful tips for maintaining your mental and emotional well-being during these times.
Jolie Lucas is a familiar face to many in aviation, but in her day job, she's a therapist. She has a list she calls her big 3 things to focus on to stay mentally well.
So number 1 is very challenging in these times. It's having a schedule, some predictability, and some sameness.
She says stick with your usual bedtime and wake time even if you're no longer having to commute. Make sure you take your lunch break and try to get up and move around and incorporate activities into your day that have a pace or a rhythm to them. Maintaining a light at the end of the tunnel is the second peg.
When you wake up in the morning, before you turn on any media, the television, the computer, what I would like you to do is focus on what is positive in your life. What are you grateful for in your life? And it may sound a little simplistic, but it's really not. It's a way that we can just be grateful if you can hear the birds chirping. Or here in California, the neighbor's orange tree is blossoming. So I get to smell that coming into my bedroom window, and I can bolt out of bed and get ready for my day, or I can take a moment and have some gratitude.
Third, maintain personal control over your environment. Stimulate all 5 of your senses daily. Act out of wisdom versus fear. And make sure you socialize within distancing guidelines. Work on your goals and make the mindful decision to act the way you want to feel.
If I want to feel organized, competent, in charge, guess what? I have to do the verb. I have to act organized. I have to act competent. I have to act in charge. Sometimes we find ourselves on the couch watching the 8th episode in a series of something, and we just feel low and we feel like a slug. And I would tell my clients, how do you want to feel? I want to feel powerful. I want to feel optimistic. I kind of want to feel like I got some spice. Okay, guess what? You got to act powerful. You got to act bold. You got to have spice.
What would be a sign that somebody should probably reach out to a professional?
So here's my bold suggestion. We all need a hand. There are some of us that are handling it better than others, but reach out. If you have insurance that covers mental health, why not reach out to a local counselor? I specialize in anxiety, depression, and recovery from trauma, so I haven't been busier in my practice. It's bananas. But because we're able to use FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, etc., I can see people all over the country.
Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
We have the full interview with Jolie Lucas on our YouTube channel for you to watch. Tom, Jolie has some great advice, and I'm definitely going to take notes on that full interview.
Yeah, it's great that she's a pilot. It can bring that sort of perspective to help us all deal with the fact that we can't go flying right now. But, hey, it'll turn around soon. And, of course, there are some who are able to safely fly out there because maybe their local restrictions aren't quite as strict as what we're mostly seeing around this part of the world. And, we asked last week, and you all keep on delivering. We asked to see what aviation you're doing during this period of safe isolation. Sam Meek sent us this from his time at the airport.
Yesterday's IFR conditions were pretty calm, so it presented a good time for me to get up and get some holds in. But I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was actually getting to the airport and cleaning out the plane. Had all of his Cheerios strewn about the back of the Lance and found a nice little bird nest in the Stinson. So it's a good time to get over there and do little various cleanups and projects that we've been wanting to do on the airplanes if you can't get up and fly. But if you can, get out there and fly. It's pretty calm up there. I was talking to Potomac, and they didn't have much going on. Thanks.
Thanks to Sam and the others who have sent in content. We want to see yours when you can do so safely and within the guidelines of your community, of course. Send it to the address there on your screen. And finally this week, hey, just chill out, will ya? We've been unearthing old videos from our archives and came across an hour-long shoot that is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's from 2012. It was shot from an amphibious AirCam traveling down the Florida Gulf Coast at a few dozen feet off the water. Now we've set it to music and put it up for you to tune in and zone out. Find it on our YouTube channel.
And remember, stay in touch with your family, your friends, neighbors, and us from at least 6 feet away, of course.
And I'll sound like your mom. Wash your hands. Thank the healthcare workers, first responders, our controllers, grocery store staff, and all those who continue to work and accept the risk to take care of the rest of us.
We'll see you next Thursday, well, if the internet doesn't plug up. And now, go chill.